Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book, The Appeal by John Grisham. This is a legal political thriller that John Grisham wrote, set in his original home state of Mississippi. It is not set in the county, Ford County, that he sets most of his books. He puts it in a different county, which in some ways I'm like, good for you for mixing it up, but at the same time I was like, hey, you could have had some of my favorite characters show up. Anyway, this is, as I said, a legal political thriller. It is in both lanes, and this is, John Grisham, I generally say he has two lanes of writing. He has his serious, thematic, deep, thought-provoking books that just really ask hard questions about society and are masked as just legal thrillers, but they're really asking those deep, dark secrets about society. Then he has his lighthearted thrillers, or books that, books that they have deeper themes to them, but they don't have that darkness. They don't have that seriousness. There's almost an absurdity to his lighthearted stuff. You're like, that couldn't possibly happen. That's just too absurd to happen. Some of his books, I would say The Brethren falls into this category. I would say The Rooster Bar falls into this category. I would say The Litigators in some ways falls into that category. Even The Runaway Jury I would put in there. These books that they don't take themselves too seriously. You acknowledge these are out there, but you're along for the ride. This one is in the more fun, absurdism, legal thriller, political thriller. It's not as serious as A Time to Kill, or as Sycamore Row, or as The Chamber. It's not as serious and slow-moving as those. It's much more fast-paced. But it does ask some deep themes and really is thought-provoking about society. And, as with a lot of John Grisham stuff, I disagree with him heavily on his themes and ideas in here, his worldview. I heavily disagree with it. And yet, I find his books riveting and fascinating. And there is something about his writing style that is just so good. But I'm going to pause. I haven't even told you the premise of the book, and I just realized that. Sorry. The premise of this book is that there is a chemical plant and company that basically pumps a lot of chemicals into the water of this town and causes people to get cancer, and some of the people die. And so these lawyers find this widow and they sue the chemical company, and they initially win the lawsuit. And the chemical company is so worried that they will have a bunch of other tort law stuff where a bunch of people will get together and sue them, and they'll lose billions of dollars. And they're also worried that our stock's going to lose billions of dollars. They're all worried about everything. And so this billionaire that owns the Crane Chemical Company, his name's Carl Trudeau. What he does is he contacts this firm and says, hey, can you guys get another Supreme Court justice onto the Mississippi Supreme Court? Because in Mississippi, as in several other states, they elect their Supreme Court justices. The U.S. Supreme Court is appointed by the president and voted on by Congress, whereas for state Supreme Courts like in Mississippi, the people vote on them. And so he says, if we just get one more vote, it'll swing in my favor. And so he tries to basically buy a seat on the Supreme Court. And so they decide to launch a candidate who will run for Supreme Court, the Mississippi Supreme Court, who will probably favor the chemical company instead of the prosecutors. And this is just a fun, fast-paced political story where you see the campaign and the mudslinging and all the prep work that goes into campaigning, and some of the side work and the behind the scenes and the kind of Machiavellian maneuvers that happen and the kind of secretive stuff that happens. And it's a very fun, creative book. And some of this you're like, there's no way it would happen in this way. And there's other times you're like, oh, this is scary. If this is true, this is scary that this is how our campaigning system works. And Grisham does not hide his ideological viewpoints on whether or not we should be campaigning for Supreme Courts, or who you should follow and who you should support in the court case, or basically like on political issues, it's very obvious where he comes from. But he argues his point and the opposition point really well. You obviously know who the good guys, quote, good guys and bad guys are in the book, but he still makes compelling arguments, which is why his books work so well. And then the book just takes a couple of really interesting turns towards the end, which I won't reveal here. I basically told you the premise of the book, and the twists and turns at the end made me go, oh, is he going to go here? Is he going to go here? No, he's going over here. Oh my goodness, I didn't see that twist coming. And I bet a lot of people are going to be disappointed by this book because A, it doesn't have the seriousness that his great books have, his A Time to Kills have, and it also does not have an ending as you'd expect. I won't say it has a happy ending or a sad ending. It has an ending not the way you'd expect it to happen. And I think a lot of people are going to bristle against that. But I'll say for me, because I love campaigning and I love his writing style, the ease with which I can just throw myself into his books. When I start a new fantasy novel or I start a new science fiction or a horror, I have to really slow down and think about the world building and think about the characters and think about things deeply to try to understand it. With his books, I can just pick it up and I instantly am getting everything about the characters, getting everything about the plot setup and the world, even though it's, real world type stuff. It's very easy to pick up and just blow through. And so because of that, I love that ease. And there are other contemporary writers who do not have the ease. It's not just because it's a genre that's easier to get into. It's his specific writing style in this genre that is just so easy to get into. And I think a lot of people would bristle against that and say, well, it's not, highfalutin or anything. Well, I don't care about that. I wanted my books to be enjoyable and fun, darn it. And so I really appreciated it. Is this my favorite John Grisham book? No. There are still a couple of others that I've read, but it is above others, so I would put it in the middle of the pack. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's really excellent. I think that John Grisham has not had a bad book that I've read. This is I believe, the 12th Grisham book that I've read, 12th or 13th, and there's not been a bad book in the bunch. There's been mediocre books, but every other book has been like good or great or amazing or top tier, and this book is in the very, very, very good. I really enjoyed it. I have a few problems with it. I can't spoilers, I can't tell you what I actually disliked about the book, but as a whole, I loved this book, and I breezed through it in like a day, like 24 hours. So I would highly recommend it. I wouldn't recommend this being your first John Grisham book, but if you're a John Grisham fan, pick this book up. I think it's worth it. What did you think of the ending? What did you think about the whole book? Do you like political thrillers? Do you like campaign books? Campaigning, that's what I went to college for, was to learn about campaigns. Let me know all that in the comments section down below. Until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.